So, I've been thinking a lot lately about how easy it is to stay in something just because it still feels good, even when deep down you already know it's not going anywhere. Somewhere over the last week, I found myself still sitting with this idea of hope, relationships, and how we hold on to things, sometimes longer than we should. Not because we're unaware, but because we're human. Because something about it still feels familiar. It still fits a space, and it still gives us just enough to stay. So I started thinking about this distinction in a way I hadn't fully put to words before. There's a difference between someone being there and someone being for you. And I don't mean that dramatically. I mean it practically. Because presence alone can be misleading. Someone can be in your life, responding, engaging, showing up here and there, and still not be moving toward you with purpose. That's what I've come to understand as attention. Attention is available, it's responsive, and it's there when it's convenient, but it doesn't require depth. It doesn't require movement, and it doesn't require responsibility. Attention, it can just feel really good. It fills quiet spaces. It gives you something to respond to. And it creates just enough connection to keep you engaged. But intention is different. Intention processes what it sees and then responds with purpose. It's thoughtful, it's consistent, and it moves toward you, not just around you. And more than anything, it considers the impact it has on you. That's intention. And this is where I've had to be honest with myself. I've stayed in spaces where there was attention because it still felt like something, even when I knew it wasn't intention, because truthfully, it's easier to hold on to something that might become something than sit in the space where nothing is filling that gap. I've given more grace than necessary. I've explained things that didn't need explaining, and I've let hope cover truth. And I've definitely confused potential with reality. But what I'm learning is my intuition was never the problem. I knew. I just didn't always want to act on what I knew. Because acting on truth sometimes requires letting go of something that still feels good. And this is something I've really come to believe. People who genuinely care about you care about the impact they have on you. They don't leave you guessing. And they don't create confusion and call it connection. And that applies everywhere. Dating, friendships, and even family dynamics. Clarity isn't too much to ask for. Consistency isn't too much to ask for. But we do have to be honest about when it's not there. And that's where this gets harder. Because seeing something clearly usually means you have to decide what to do with it. As for me, this has turned into a posture I'm still learning how to live out. I have to keep open hands in a closed fist world. Because everything around us says hold on tighter, figure it out, don't lose it, and don't let it go. But this is what I've realized. Sometimes the very thing keeping me stuck is the thing I won't release. There's this picture of how monkeys get trapped. They reach into a jar to grab something they want, but once their hand is closed, they can't pull it back out. And instead of just letting go, they stay stuck. Not because they're trapped, but because they refuse to release what they're holding on to. And if I'm honest, I've done that. I've held on to something longer than I should have. Not because it was right, but because I didn't want to let go of what I thought it could be. And I've had to redefine what releasing actually means. Because it's not quitting. Quitting actually comes from frustration. It's reactive. It's emotional. But releasing is different. Releasing is intentional. It's grounded. It's obedient. It says, I see this clearly now, and I trust God more than I trust my attachment to it. And sometimes releasing looks like emotional detachment. Sometimes it looks like removing access. Sometimes it just means you stop replaying it in your mind. But either way, it creates space. And I want to say this because I think it gets misunderstood a lot. Stillness is not passivity. Passivity avoids responsibility. It checks out, it disconnects. But trust is active. Trust is choosing to stay aligned, even when you don't have answers. It's a place you can rest without shutting down. Because the real reason this gets hard is disappointment. Not surface level disappointment, but the kind that builds over time, where you've hoped before, and it didn't turn out how you thought. So now hope starts to feel risky. Not because you don't want to hope, but because you don't know if you can trust the outcome. And that's where I felt it the most. Not in the beginning, but in the longevity of hoping. But this is what I keep coming back to. God has never gotten it wrong in my life. He's redirected me. He's shifted things I thought I wanted, but he has never failed me. So if something is still on my heart, I don't immediately assume it's wrong. But I also don't grip it the same way anymore. I've started praying this really simple prayer. God, bless it or block it, because I do not want to hold on to something that isn't from him, even if it feels good. And at the same time, I don't want to shut down something he is still writing. So here's your one tip. Ask yourself this honestly. Where am I holding on to something that only has attention, but not intention? And where do I need to loosen my grip so I can actually move forward? Write it down, sit with it, and then bring it to God and say, bless it or block it. And if you've been feeling tired in this space, you are not behind. You're just being invited to see things clearly and hold them differently. As always, thanks for joining me for this one sip, one tip at the morning pour. Take what you need, leave what you don't, and I'll meet you right back here next week for another sip.